Let's fix Drew Petzing's play calling, shall we? Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please go to the YouTube channel. Search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button, man. Turn notifications on so you get notified when my big dumb face can be in front of your face, spewing things about the Arizona Cardinals that I've been doing since 2011 and with this lovely podcast going into my 9th season. We're going to do Drew Petzing's play calling today. I wasn't ready to do that. Like, I didn't want to do this today. I wanted to wait. And just, as we start to kind of see what the depth chart's going to look like, even though it's pretty much copy and paste from last year. But there was a stat that came out from the 33rd team. They do great work over there. Ari Mayroff, friend of the show. Marcus Mosier has done work there as well. And they posted this graphic, which I'll show you momentarily, that really smacked me in the face of like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I thought it was. Wow. Not a bad thing, not a good thing really. And also, there's so much room for dispersion that it needed to be discussed. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to break down the pass game in the final segment. This is the thing that I've talked more about, where I don't really think the Cardinals need much more help. They just need to utilize their talent better. I'll talk about that a little bit more in depth in the final segment. The run game in the next segment, which is going to be fascinating because obviously it bleeds into the pass game, as you'll see with the stat that the numbers that I'll show you here in a second. And there's one thing in the run game that is missing that should be utilized the way other teams utilize this specific type of player. Let's discuss that in the second segment. But just kind of wanted to do a broad overview of what we've seen during the first couple years. When Drew Petzing came on, quarterback coach, helped with the run game in Cleveland, then came over, OC first time. What we saw smacking us in the face was something wildly different than Cliff Kingsbury's offense. And I think that's obvious, but we're just kind of starting from the beginning of the chronology here. And what we saw when the Cardinals traded for Josh Dobbs 2.5 weeks before the season started, and then you see an offense that, while incredibly flawed, namely because Kyler Murray wasn't playing, and also, Michael Wilson was a rookie. They didn't really have a lot of talent. Trey McBride was just starting to crest at this dude can be great. But it was really the run game. It's like, oh man, with Josh Dobbs RPO, with James Conner, with no real semblance of a pass game, they were still able to run the ball effectively. And that is something that, while we saw that with Cliff, not negating what Cliff did with the run game, specifically through, James Conner, it was something that was like, oh my God, these are 4-minute drives. What the hell is going on here? 5-minute drives, kicking a field goal instead of going for it on 4th and 3, taking the points. It's like, this is a brand new world here. And while it was nice that it wasn't flashy, I called it boring, which is good. You run the ball, you run play action, throw the ball, you take your shots, an NFL offense. Then with Kyler Murray, when he came back, and then through last year, you saw some growth with Drew Petzing. It wasn't a lot of it because it was run the ball on first, run the ball on second, run the ball on third if need be. You're running play action. You're looking for your tight end. That's what the offense has been. You'll take your shot once in a while down the field. The shots that they take are well-crafted screenplays on second and long or first down, third and medium, things like that, where it's like, okay, that's a little bit different. But all in all, it's run the ball on first, off tackle. Then you're either running play action on second or you're running the ball on second down. And then obviously down and distance on third down is predicates the play call. But it was kind of what it was. You look for Trey McBride. You look for Michael Wilson 2 years ago when Marvin Harrison Jr. wasn't on the team. You throw the ball to James Conner. And then last year when they really started to hit their stride during that stretch of games, come from behind wins. tightly contested matchups, especially after Green Bay. Going into their bye week, it's like, okay, now it's the same thing, but you're folding Marvin Harrison Jr. into the mix. But let's see people's memory from last year. What this graphic is going to show is all the different routes on a route tree and the player who had the most yards from that route run last year. Marvin Harrison Jr. and James Conner make the list. Make the list. James Conner, pass catching. What would James Conner's be? Screen pass. Okay, that's the obvious one. Which one would Marvin Harrison Jr. make? Because he made one on the list here. This is something that they figured out 4, 5, 6 games in. It's like, and that there was one against the Rams, but it was a broken play. I guess you would kind of consider this. There was one against San Francisco on 4th down. There was a really, really beautiful touchdown catch in Miami from Kyler to Marvin Harrison Jr. on this route. It's a crossing route. So for those that are watching on YouTube, this is again from the 33rd team. This is not mine. This is the 33rd team. It goes from go routes, in routes, out routes, post routes, corner route, slant, crossing routes, hitch, comeback, screen routes, and then wheel flare, angle routes. Okay, so James Conner led the NFL in screen routes with 219 yards. Marvin Harrison Jr. led the NFL in crossing route yardage with 303 yards. Okay, so here's the thing. While it's good to see Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray doing something excellently, which is what this is, they were the best in the NFL at it. The numbers show it. And while James Conner was great with screen routes, the malaise of seeing this, like this, I saw this as a not so great thing because it mirrored what I attested is that they've got the talent. They're just not using it. And I understand, of course, there's a layer to this where it's like, go with what you know and what you trust, especially in important situations like that 4th down. It was kind of a 50-50 jump ball. Kyler Murray led Marvin Harrison Jr. He went up and got it against the 49ers that continued that drive that allowed him to go win that game. And the touchdown in Miami was huge for their win or to stay in the game at that point. And then they came down and won the game. I think there was a crossing route on 3rd down with Marv in Miami too. Can't really remember. But it's obvious that it was the crossing route because the slow drag route, the slow plays that allows Marv to get from one side to the other because his lateral speed is a lot better. Like he can move sideline to sideline. It's the straight line ones where there are guys just faster than him. And that's fine. That's what it's always been. This smacked me in the face, and I'm like, okay, we got to do a show. Because starting in 2025, week 1, they've got the talent to keep opposing defenses guessing always, and they're not doing it. How can you fix the Arizona Cardinals offense? I'll start with the run game next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank account and wonder where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Take control over your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. So the offense is going to be fascinating for the Cardinals in 2025 because they didn't do much. Drafted Hayden Conner in the 6th round. Didn't do much. Now, obviously, there's still a lot of offseason left. Keenan Allen is still out there. Okay. If they're not going to change it and they're going to run the ball, I'd much rather bring Nick Chubb in for a 1-year deal. I think he's still a free agent. I know he's been linked to a bunch of different teams. It's like, if you're going to do it, do it. He'd be a great 3rd option in the backfield. It's not going to happen. I, again, probably would rather have Keenan Allen. But Keenan Allen comes with expectations. Okay? Like, that's why I discussed before. It's like he will demand targets or command targets. And he's one of the best possession receivers we've seen in the last 10 years. He crawled so Cooper Kupp could walk. Like, Keenan Allen was the most undervalued wide receiver in the NFL for years. and he couldn't stay healthy. But anyways, the run game, okay? There's a couple little tweaks that Drew Petzing can make in an effort to keep this run game fresh and a little bit more impactful than just run on first down, hope to get 5 yards. Trey Benson averaged 4.6 yards per carry last year. James Conner was very efficient with running the ball, okay? The first thing that I would do, and I've mentioned this a lot, is getting Trey Benson involved in the first quarter. Getting him a series early. This is the time in James Conner's career where you can ride the hot hand if Trey Benson figures something out from an opposing defense that James Conner's struggling with. Yes, they gave him an extension. You know what that means? He's not on any other team, and he's still going to be impactful in all the ways. It may not just be a 1,000-yard rusher this year. If Trey Benson can take that step, still well worth the money for James Conner. 1,000,000% well worth the money. But this is getting Trey Benson involved earlier instead of, just being a guy who could spell James Conner so he could get a break. Okay, that's one. And that's to say in the run game and the pass game. Trey Benson has got some scoot, okay? Trey Benson has got good hands. You can use Trey Benson exactly how you use James Conner. Exactly how you use James Conner. Now, James Conner may be better between the tackles, okay? That'll come with time for Trey Benson. He'll build some muscle. He'll build some, calluses from being in the NFL for a couple of years. It's just how it works. Derrick Henry was an afterthought for the first 2 years of his career. Year and a half. They had DeMarco Murray there, but he couldn't see the field. That's one, okay? Trey Benson needs to be less of a silent partner and more of a managing partner of this backfield. That's one, okay? Number two, for me, the biggest missing piece for this offense in the run game is that third down burner back. Michael Carter, like the avatar of Michael Carter, having a third dude, having a Nyheim Hines, the dude from Indy that ended up in Buffalo, like a Duke Johnson. If you're really going to run the ball as much as the Cardinals are, you need to have all avenues covered. And that, like Greg Dortch of the backfield, the Cardinals just don't have. And if they do have, because they've had Michael Carter on the roster, they don't utilize. It's power always. It's power always. And what the Cardinals need to be doing week 1 of 2025 is have all bases covered. Make this a damn circus of play calling. Something that it's so extensive that you have a play to call in any situation that highlights any player's best skill set. And the Cardinals don't have that to the nth degree. James Conner just bailed him out because he's really good at what he does. And then Trey Benson hopefully will be able to be folded in and be able to be a guy who can be James Conner. Because this is what people were saying, you drafted Trey Benson, move off James Conner. No, it takes a couple years, man. Sometimes. You don't need to do that. You don't need to move off the best offensive player the Cardinals have had since they signed James Conner. But you need a third down wrinkle. And who knows? That could be Greg Dortch coming out of the backfield. You got to get whimsical with this kind of stuff within reason. Without, needle in a haystacking it. And that will do this run game massive service, if nothing else, to run a play like that, a game to keep opposing defenses honest to where you can unlock maybe a play action version of it where you get Marvin Harris Jr., screaming down the sideline by himself. Like the cohesion between the run game and the pass game needs to be better. And it's not just play action. Okay. That's the easy way out. Play action only works if your run game works. That's not cohesion. Cohesion is complementing each other, playing off each other. And that's something the Cardinals have not been able to do a lot of the time. If the run game doesn't work, this offense doesn't work. And that should not ever be the case. Ever. Especially with the skill position players the Cardinals have in the pass catcher room, and Kyler Murray. And then finally, I could have said this first, but I feel like talking about the actual run game from running backs is more important. They've got to figure out the perfect mix for Kyler Murray running the ball. They need to figure out the perfect mix. So kind of a chronology of Kyler Murray running the ball since being drafted. A large portion of the first 2 years was Kyler Murray running the ball to make the offense competent. And that'll happen with a rookie second-year quarterback. Happened with Lamar, happened with Jalen Hurts. Justin Herbert ran the ball more like Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, like young guys when it's like, okay, first option's there, second there, got out. And that's what Kyler did his whole career. His high school, college, whatever it was. He was that dual threat guy. So now, being more polished as a passer, being more polished as a quarterback, not a finished product by any stretch, but definitely more polished in every sense of being a quarterback, then now you've got to figure it out. Okay, so what I said last year, and it came to fruition in the 49ers game where Kyler pointed at the 50 knowing he was going to house it. Like that was like he did that. Drew Petzing made that play call against the Giants with Josh Dobbs. I think it was week 2 of 2 years ago or 3 years ago now, where he just ran over 2 years ago now, where he ran over Xavier McKinney for a touchdown. He housed it 40 yards. It's like they need to know those spots and call them more. That needs to be a wrinkle of this offense. It doesn't have to be multiple times a game. If Kyler Murray doesn't run the ball 5 times a game, I'm good with that. If the offense is moving, you'd always want Kyler Murray to be behind the line of scrimmage if you could choose. Why put him in harm's way? But he is such a fantastic weapon when everybody's looking one way and he's gone the other. There are very few quarterbacks. They can take downset hike, run the ball, and score a touchdown from 30, 40, 50 yards out. There are like 5. And he's one of them. So the fact that they don't know how to use that enough is troubling. That's not to say they're far off, but that's something that the running back room just needs to get together this year and be like, okay, what are our gotta-have-it plays where everybody's looking this way and Kyler goes that way? You could be setting it up the whole game. But when you gotta have it, and all he has to do is beat a backer to the edge, and he's gone like he did with the Chargers on that broken play. That's the next iteration. That's what we got to see. And you see that the run game has been the staple of this offense since Drew Petzing took over. And as I've outlined in the last 5 or 6 minutes, there's so much more that they could do with it without having to change any personnel. Same could say for the pass game. I'll discuss that next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every single day. Like, for me, the run game is going to be the first love, okay? The run game is going to be that one. And say the run has been, 65, 60-40, 57-43, whatever it is. I want a couple percentages closer to zero for both sides. Nope. I want less run percentage, more pass percentage. And it doesn't have to be hucking it down the field. And it doesn't have to be downside hike 3 straight throws. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm discussing, if it's a 50-50 play call, 2nd and 5, I'd love to see the ball in Kyler Murray's hands more. They've got the weapons, okay? I've continued to say this. They've got the weapons. I don't care that Michael Wilson isn't a great separator. A lot of good wide receivers aren't. Can you catch the ball when it's thrown to you? Cool, dude. I want to see Greg Dortch more. I don't care that he's an afterthought and has been since being drafted outside of like the last couple garbage time games in the preseason. That doesn't mean it always has to be that way. We've seen special from him. We've seen special from him. We've seen far less gaffes than special when he touches the ball. We have factual. A lot more of the touchdowns against Chicago 2 years ago, and a lot more of that slip screen chunk yardage gain. I think it was 40 yards against the Rams in Week 17 this past season. Like, it's there. He's a dormant volcano. Just let it rip, dude. He's the one player on this offense, and I will partner Xavier Weaver in here. He's still way TBD. But watch him in college. He's a special playmaker. They've got dudes. And this isn't a matter of trust. This is a matter of reliance from Kyler Murray and Drew Petzing. It's a matter of, you know what? I'd rather throw the ball to Trey McBride on a dump down on 1st and 10 because I know he's going to catch it. I know he's not going to fumble it. And I know he could run over a backer or a corner to gain an extra couple yards. You know what? That's great. Moving the ball down the field, that's great. It's not an incomplete pass. That's great. It's not a sack. Awesome. It's not a run stuff because they know they're going to run the ball on 1st down. That's great. And what if you run a package for Greg Dortch on a little drag route where he could potentially house it? Greg Dortch is the fastest player the Cardinals have on the outside or in the slot. Use him. Let the kid eat. Like, I don't understand it. Like, Wes Welker was nothing until Tom Brady. You know, he had flashes in Miami and flashes in I think with the Chargers. I can't remember. Julian Edelman. Like, I'm not even going to mention Tyreek Hill, but like, you know, there are guys who are just waiting for an offense to give him the opportunity to do what he does best. And what Greg Dortch does best is make people miss in open space. Is there a player outside of Kyler Murray who is better than that on the Cardinals roster than Greg Dortch? Trey McBride just runs over people. It's different. It's different. Michael Wilson's not that guy. But Greg Dortch, they have the X factor dude. They've got their guy. He's been on the roster being underused every single year. Michael Wilson, to a lesser extent, but potentially more impactful extent, he's 6'4", 6'3". He's got great hands. Just like Marv, him versus sideline, he always wins. He can make the acrobatic catches. He's a big red zone threat. Use him. And I'm not saying like, so say for round numbers, say Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. get 80% of the looks, which is what it should be. Okay. I'm not saying like, oh, they should get 30% less targets. And then it's not about that. It's about the timing of them. It's about it's 3rd and 8. Oh, this is a Trey McBride play. Well, maybe it's Trey McBride for 3rd and 8 to eke out a touchdown, or eke out a 1st down, or get down to 4th and 2 so you have a decision to make. Or it's a fake to Trey McBride and Michael Wilson screaming down the opposite sideline. It's not about just getting 1st downs. It's about those couple plays a game where you could blow the game open. And the Cardinals have the opportunity to do that because they've got a deep wide receiver room. They're just not utilizing them properly. And of course, on a God-habit play, you're obviously looking for Trey McBride or Marvin Harrison Jr. And has Michael Wilson dropped an important ball when the Cardinals needed it? He hasn't been thrown a lot. Has he? Has Greg Dortch? Like, the best way to unlock the entirety of this offense is to use the full extent of its talent. And Drew Petzing and Kyler Murray, I'd probably put a little bit more of the blame on Kyler Murray here, but it's close. And it's not blame. It's like, how do you unlock the full potential of this offense? How do you raise the floor of this offense, which is my, going on the road. It's about raising the floor. It's not about raising the ceiling. How do you get to 100% of this offense? And it's not being lazy and just going with an under route because it's Trey McBride, when you could take a beat, look on the other side of the field, and see Greg Dortch on a deeper crossing route for 15 or 20 yards. Or it would probably be more Michael Wilson there. That's it. So listen, this offense has the makings of something great. It does. I know that people have been knocking Drew Petzing. He hasn't been perfect, okay? But this has been a much more competent offense than we saw before that. Now, with the defense the way it is, okay, and I didn't talk about this the entire show because we don't know if it is. If the play calling, what I said going to last season was the Cardinals' best defense is their run game. And maybe that did shake things up a little bit with the play calling so they could stay on the field longer, maybe, okay? And there is so much potential that's been untapped in the run game, in the pass game, and how they marry together. And 2025, starting week 1, the Cardinals have the opportunity to do something great. They have the opportunity to unlock the entirety of this offense, coupled with what could be a top 7 defense. We could be having incredibly different conversations in December and January than we have over the last decade. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Remember, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you tomorrow.